Starting out in Warframe, I remember feeling completely overwhelmed by the huge amount of options that I had. In weapons, in Warframe, in everything. And I wanted to give everything a try and see what is that capable of and what can I do with that, but, of course, I didn't have the necessary know-how nor the necessary resources. Nowadays though, things have changed and I'm able to max out every single weapon in the game, see what it's capable of, then deliver it to you guys in a nice and neat package. So today it's time for the Twin Vipers Wraith. As per the usual, I'm gonna have something cheap, something affordable that anybody can build, but of course we also have the Endgame setup with a Riven. That said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides take a new player friendly approach. I like to take my time and explain a lot of the aspects that veteran players should already be accustomed to. So in case you're a veteran, please, bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Twin Vipers Wraith. Let's begin by having a look at how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that our usual free shots. The Twin Vipers Wraith is an automatic secondary weapon that can be obtained from doing invasions, but if you don't have the time, if it takes too much for you, you can simply buy it off another player. Over on Warframe markets, prices range between 30-ish and 50-ish flat, depending on your luck, of course. Now that said, automatic pistols, the accuracy on these isn't really all that fantastic at 11.1. This is gonna be 15 meters from the target, and as you can see, many of the bullets will be landing completely off the crosshairs, which means that Magnum Force is mostly a major no-no. The reload is pretty decent, 2 seconds isn't that long of a time, but as you can see, you're gonna be able to unload that 40 shot magazine rather quickly, so you are looking at quite a bit of downtime. But let's hop into stats to have a closer look at what we're dealing with. First of all, if your Twin Vipers Wraith has only 30 out of 30 mod capacity, jump into actions and double it using an Auto King Catalyst. Now this one can be obtained primarily from doing Nightwave, but you can also pay 20 plat to have one installed, and you might get a blueprint from the daily sortie as well. Accuracy 11.1, as you saw there, really not fantastic. Magnum Force means 6.9, no, unless you want to use it as a shotgun, so there you go. Base critical chance, not fantastic, 19%, but a decent critical multiplier at 2.0x, a fire rate of 25 with a magazine of 40, noise alarming, and a reload of 2 seconds. Now here's the big kicker. Riven disposition, 5 out of 5, so we are gonna be able to get fantastic Rivens for the weapons. Now, to be honest, between you and me, that's the one saving grace of this secondary. Status chance, 9%, trigger auto, and most of the damage, as you can see, is impact, which is probably the biggest issue with the weapon. But enough about that, let's check out a standard build. And we got damage with Hornet Strike, multi-shot with Barrel Diffusion, as well as Lethal Torrent, critical chance and critical damage with Point Strike and Target Cracker. Now this will be your base build for the weapon. What follows next will depend on your own circumstances. Where are you going? Who are you fighting? And so on. In my case, I got two 60-60 mods forming Corrosive with Pistol Pestilence and Jolt. But if you're going up against Corpus Faction, Gas or Toxin is the way to go. Up against the Infested, then try AoE weapons heavily modded into Heat. For example, the Atomos or the Ignis Wraith. When it comes to the Infested, they have 4 different health types, so they're kinda a bit tricky. Their elite units are also vulnerable to Corrosive. Stuff like Ancient Healer Eximus, for example. Now if you don't have Jolt, because this one is the only problematic mod, it's only brought by Battleketeer every month, sometimes every 2 months, so this one on the trade chat can get the stupid high prices. I'm talking 100 plat. That's a bit too much to ask of a new player, so you can just swap it out for something like Convulsion, if you do not have Jolt. There will be a difference in performance, but to be honest, not all that huge. When you see Battle bring Jolt, pick up a copy. You want to make some plat, pick up 2 free copies, something like that. And you probably noticed there's still 1 mod slot left on the weapon. This is what I like to call the option slot. Plug into this one whatever makes you feel a bit more comfortable with the weapon. Let me give you a couple of options. First of all, reload speed, because this is a bullet hose. For the most part, you can go with stunning speed. 40% reload speed, dropping that reload to 1.4 seconds and 10% status chance as a added benefit. Definitely a great mod for the weapon. Or perhaps you like some magazine capacity, so you don't have to reload all the time and you can just kill a target in a single clip. You can go with Ice Storm and 40% magazine capacity and 40% cold. The problem with Ice Storm is that it adds cold on the weapon, and that can work into your elemental combo or combos, or it may not. In my case, it definitely does not work. Here's another option. You can simply pile on more of your own elemental combo. In my case, Corrosive, I can go for another 90, something like Convulsion. What would be the point in that? Just for more damage? Well, not necessarily. You gotta keep in mind the IPS rules in Warframe. Impact, puncture, and slash, the physical types have a 4 times greater chance at applying that status effect over elemental types such as heat, gas, corrosive, you name it. So in my case, even with convulsion, impact is still proc priority number 1. So there's that. And enough about that. Let's test out the weapon and see if it performs. We're gonna be spawning in Corrupted Heavy Goons level 120 as these are the benchmark. Now let's see, can this weapon pack a punch or no? As you can see, the weapon can definitely deal a whole lot of damage. We're talking about a lot of bullets in the target, but the problem is you don't have the reload speed to keep up that damage per second, and you don't have the magazine capacity either. The damage, sure, it's there, but I need more bullets, and I need to reload less, which is why in this case I'm gonna be recommending stunning speed on the weapon. Yes, you are dropping a bit of damage. Yes, it may not be the most optimal way of going about it, but if you're gonna be annoyed with the weapon, well, you know what happens with weapons that you are annoyed with. You're simply not gonna use them anymore because, well, there's plenty of other options in the game. So let's try it like this and see if it performs any more comfy. Because normally you're gonna need like 2 to 3 clips to actually take out one of these high level targets. And as you can see, the damage indeed did drop, but my reload is a whole lot quicker now, which will make the weapon a bit more easier to use in gameplay. But let's be honest here. The performance of the weapon isn't great. Isn't great as me being kind to it. It's pretty bad. But there is one saving grace that we can exploit. Something very cheap. And I'm talking about Twin Vipers Wraith Rivens. And these go for between 20 and 40 plat unrolled. You can head on over to Kuva and see if you get lucky. So let's try to max out the weapon and see if we can get it to actually perform decently well. And I got a Riven. Now I actually paid 15 plat for this one, and I rolled it 22 times for the sake of the review. I'm not saying, hey, listen, go sink 60,000 Kuva in a Twin Vipers Riven, unless of course you really enjoy the weapon and you try to get the most you can out of it. We got damage, critical chance, and multi-shot. It's a pretty good roll. If it had a negative, it would have been much better, but there you go. And of course, we got the Prime mods with Prime Pistol Gambit and Prime Target Cracker. Now, once again, we're going to be testing the weapon. Dispo 5 out of 5 should definitely make one huge impact on the weapon. And you'll see that, yes, now, I want to say it's in a decent place. Take a look at that. The single magazine took about 50% of this target's health. But of course, I got those status procs, so the second magazine will be hurting a whole lot more than before. The point I am trying to make right now, my friends, is the fact that the weapon can deliver a punch if you're willing to invest in it. If this is good enough for you, then it's definitely good enough for me. But speaking from experience, this is simply not that powerful of a secondary weapon, nor do I think it's meant to be. And if you're into bullet hose weapons, such as these, okay, secondary bullet hose weapons, then I want to offer you guys a bit of an alternative, which is completely free, but all you gotta do is actually attend the yearly Warframe celebration. And I'm talking about this weapon right here, one of my favorite secondary weapons in the game, the Dex Purist. Now let's have a look at the Dex in comparison with the Twin Vipers. Now the primary advantage is the fact that this one is not heavily into impact. This one is into puncture. That means no daze effect, and that also means more damage on heavily armored targets, because that's how puncture works. We also have a Riven for this one, same 5 out of 5 Riven disposition, and it's got damage, critical chance, minus zoom, and plus puncture. I'll be honest with you guys, plus puncture is not something I wanted, and I think that the Viper Riven that we had is superior to this one, and the build is identical as before. But we have a higher magazine at 100 on this one, and of course all these stat differences as well. And again, the Dex Furious is basically available to everybody as long as you attended the celebration. If you did not attend the yearly celebration for Warframe, then fret not, it comes around every single year, and every single year we get one additional item. And as you can see, this one is a whole lot more easier and comfy to use. Is it because of the damage layout? Is it because the critical chance, status chance, and so on and so forth? Not primarily. The primary reason is the fact that this one has a higher magazine capacity, so I can just keep on spraying until the target dies. If you guys are interested in this weapon, link the cards right now for a full review. I love it. It's the Blazing Bullet Storm, as I like to call it. But don't worry, I didn't forget about our Twin Vipers. Definitely not. What we're going to be doing next is bumping up everything using Warframe buffs, and which frame to showcase it better than Lady Mirage Prime. I love her. Now you can also use Harrow, of course, but I prefer Mirage. Let's check out those buffs. Rifle Lamp isn't gonna do anything for us, so we're gonna go with Pistol Lamp and 27% extra damage. For Arcanes, I think we're gonna go for a combination on this one. Avenger are free. Farm from the third idol on down on Cetus on damage a 40% chance for 30% critical chance boost. Bonus additive after, so it stacks on top of what you already have for 8 seconds, and of course the usual plus 1 arcane revive. As for our second arcane, we're gonna go with Arcane Precision R3, also from the third idol on down on Cetus on headshot at a massive 80% chance for plus 120% damage to secondary weapons for 8 seconds. I know it says to pistols, ignore that, it's to secondary weapons. Please. Now, one more thing though, perhaps you don't have these expensive arcanes. Maybe you don't like the farm eidolons and all whatnot. You can go for something a whole lot cheaper, and this one is called Arcane Awakening. As you can see, I got plenty of the stuff. I can't get rid of them because they're so cheap. On reload, 40% chance for plus 100% damage to pistols for 16 seconds. So you can go for something like that if you can't afford or don't have Precision and Avenger. Now let's test out the weapon one more time. We're going to be spawning in the same targets as before, but this time I'm going to be unpausing them so they can hit me and I can get my glorious buffs. Mirage's free ability for a obscene damage increase, of course, and the lovely clones as well. And as you can see now, the Twin Vipers Wraith can absolutely mow down targets without any issue at all. But let's be honest, I am using some rather extreme Warframe buffs. Mirage is actually the frame that can buff weapon damage to the highest, even higher than Chroma. Don't believe me? Look at the card right now for a full demo on that. But getting back to our weapon, I don't like to call weapons mastery fodder. And I'm not saying that the Twin Vipers Wraith are mastery fodder, definitely not. But they're simply not all that powerful. Is it worth building? Yes, of course it's worth building. I guess every weapon is worth building if you're interested in the mastery points. But in terms of performance, there are plenty of other bullet hole style weapons that can outperform. Not only the Dex Furious, but you can have a look at the Axomati, and that one, once again, is heavily into crit. It's got a 3.0 base critical multiplier. Link to the cards right now for a full review on that one. So again, you do have some options. And I believe, my friends, that is pretty much it for the review. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you got any sorts of feedback for me or want to suggest some content, please drop it in the comment section down below. I would love to read it. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, all the usual places. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.